Okay, retired Major Qayyum Khan, PhD. Nice to see you. And Abul Hassan Chowdhury. Nice to see you too. So, Mother, you're two of your good friends, yeah?
Good friends from Notre Dame.
Oh, wow. তো এখন তোমাকে তোমার nickname দিয়েই বলি দীপু. I know him since he was good friend of Li Cheng's. তুমি তো ছিল Li Cheng.
So were we all.
So and he wrote that book.
Yes.
So the way he described himself sitting there, so I could imagine him, put a picture. I can see him smiling and what is he doing up to now. It was very interesting, so very visual. So where do we start today?
That's, you're the moderator. It's your choice. You set the theme.
Kaisar, tumi bolo, give us some politics. Election to holo and how are we fitting? How do you think it went?
Looking at the immediate scenario, of course, there are many hurdles to cross, but it looks like the cabinet has been well thought out. Some people with experience, because in any case, it cannot be at an individual level, it will be a collective level.
Right.
How we manage and discipline certain very vital areas, very financial institutions.
United Nations.
Financial institutions, banking sector. And engage with our development partners.
Right.
Not that we will have to listen to their advice and recipe for our development, but there has to be some confluence, which is to our interest as well as which
the global interest.
I think these are the things that will evolve, but I would say that a quick start has been made, and the Honorable Prime Minister, in my opinion, has done the right thing by assembling a cabinet. And by and large, the view is that the expectation is a little higher from this team than there was from the past. But a lot will be seen in the days ahead and how things unravel.
What do you think? I mean, what is our priority or in people's mind, not government's head?
I see no significant change in governance. I see no significant change in policies. Nor do I see any significant change on our ability to do things better.
That's a big.
And I think, taking cue from
Kaisar,
the cabinet has some new faces, but the political direction comes from one person. It's not like the Israeli cabinet fighting over policies. So whatever the Prime Minister says is the policy. And how she arrives at these policies, it seems to me, the past is any indicator. The policies are made by the bureaucrats. The policies are made by bureaucrats. And
the various ministries there.
Secretaries, the entire government machinery.
Right.
And I think so. I'm not very fond of
bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy forming policies, because when bureaucrats make policies, they cannot and do not reflect the aspirations of the people.
True.
And you see that in today, over the years, the bureaucracy has now created, even if a person dies, if you want to get, every family deals with this problem of succession. Now for succession, there has to be a government authorized death certificate. You cannot get any paper from the government without some grease fund. So the bureaucracy forms policies like that.
Mhm.
The bureaucracy, there's a very interesting economics paper on banking.
Yeah.
It's called the dialectics of regulation.
Mhm.
But then they look at the banking sector.
Yeah.
So when the regulator makes the regulation, what the regulator does is it sort of eats up the entire sphere of policies.
Mhm.
And this is what is happening here.
But এমনি হয় না যে even in the global context, globally, like let's say IMF or the World Bank or whatever, they also want to kind of control, bring it under their control, everything, money or economy and how it should go, and they tell us what you should do as a developing country. The English are the bureaucratic,
I
techno-bureaucratic.
mean, the World Bank, the IMF, they're bureaucratic organizations. They are bureaucratic organizations. They're not public organizations.
Exactly.
They are bureaucratic organizations. And they are extensions of the US State Department, of the US Department of Defense. That's a fact.
Okay.
That's a fact. The
Yeah,
US
they-
Secretary of State,
Yeah.
Madeleine Albright, in one of her public statements, in a speech,
Mm.
she stated that the United Nations is an instrument of US foreign policy. That's a public statement. So the United Nations exists
Mhm.
so that the US can use it for its own purposes. So now let's talk about the World Bank.
Yeah.
World Bank has now a record of 75 years.
Mhm.
Now, the amount of projects that the World Bank undertook in the developing world, how come the developing world didn't
Still developing.
didn't get the kind of infrastructure that these developing countries needed to get out of the poverty trap?
Mhm.
Although the stated policy of the World Bank is to overcome the poverty
Right.
trap. Why is it that the infrastructure undertaken by China through BRI
Yeah.
over a period of 1 decade surpasses the World Bank's investments in infrastructure over 75 years? There is a reason.
Mhm.
The reason is the World Bank was not interested in infrastructure. Most of their investments are, for example, there was a project in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
Dhaka Urban Transportation Plan. Millions of dollars were spent on it to resolve Dhaka's
Traffic jams.
traffic problems.
Yeah.
There was a traffic lighting system that was introduced.
Yeah.
All of that. This is the money that we used that was
Do
spent.
you have any idea how much of the project cost was
I think,
in takas?
if I remember correctly, don't hold me to it.
300
It was about $200 million.
$200 million. Wow. And what happened to it?
Well, what happened to it? We're still dealing with the same problem.
আমার তো মনে হয় কাইসার
Now, in the process, there were many consultants, foreign consultants, local consultants who wrote papers,
and the bureaucrats.
and the bureaucrats who went abroad to see traffic management systems the world over.
Wow.
And we
Fantastic.
are still stuck in traffic.
Yes. আমার তো মনে হয় যে privatization করলে they'll do much better job.
I mean, I can't come to that conclusion. My problem is I really have.
But Kaiser might have different opinion on
I
it.
mean, no, he may, of course.
Mm.
My problem is we need policies that are responsive to the aspirations of the people. Why has,
Absolutely.
for instance,
Yeah.
I was comparing the World Bank investments in infrastructure versus the BRI,
Yeah.
China's investments. And why has China
Mm.
won over the hearts and minds of the Africans? They're building bridges, they're building railroads, they're building roads, they're building universities, they're creating, digital infrastructure, because people can immediately benefit from it. You see, for instance, in our neighborhood,
Yeah.
when Nepal became a secular republic from a Hindu kingdom,
Mm.
the BJP government in Nepal, in India,
Yeah.
put a land blockade on Nepal.
Yeah.
Not because all of Nepal's export
Yeah.
imports is by road traffic,
Yeah.
which are unloaded in the Indian ports and then trucked into
There's a lot of
Nepal. Landlocked country.
Landlocked. Yeah.
And it caused Nepal a lot of hardship.
Yeah.
And even, we required a small corridor to go through India. India was very reluctant to give us.
Access.
So if we cleared Nepalese goods in Bangladeshi ports,
But
and could we take trucks into Nepal from Bangladesh?
yeah.
Now
But
China,
they also need a transit to Northeast India. ওটা তো আমরা respondই করি না। না তো I'm saying why would
I
you
will
respond
not.
to that?
Let me stick to the point I'm going to make.
Okay. Yeah.
So China
Mm.
has now created a railway tunnel through the Himalayas from China into Nepal.
Acha.
That's a BRI investment. That's a BRI investment.
Yeah.
So that Nepal is no longer dependent on India
Yeah.
for its goods and services from abroad.
True.
So, an example of an investment that is responsive
To the needs.
to the needs of the people. And so I think the World Bank, if you judge from the World Bank's investments,
Yeah.
I will not, I'm not going to say that everything was bad,
Mm.
but majority of the investments of the World Bank was to keep the developing world
Yeah.
dependent on US agriculture.
Really?
There was no investment in value addition to local to agriculture. We were dependent to keep us,
On the
US agriculture and agricultural products. To keep
কিন্তু আমরা তো we are just importing the grains আর তো কিছু না food.
that US agriculture.
Yeah. But they
So
have
why didn't we have investments in our agriculture for
Yeah, I
diversification,
agree.
enhancement?
Yeah.
So exacta, let's then talk very briefly
Mm.
about the IMF.
Yeah.
The IMF was created for balance of payment support. Which translated, what it means is if I'm importing more than what I earn
Yeah.
in foreign currency,
Short of it, yeah.
I need foreign exchange to pay for my
Yeah.
import bill.
Yeah.
And I don't have the foreign exchange. So IMF will lend me money
Yeah.
so that I can pay off these bills. But IMF facilities, they call them facilities,
Mhm.
they give you a credit facility.
I see.
IMF facilities have conditionalities.
Mm.
And the typical conditionality is, oh, you have to
Taxes.
sell off your public bridge.
Right.
There is asset sales,
Mm.
to trust the burden of everything to the working class.
Mm.
So wages, there is immense focus on wage inflation. Wages should be controlled. Like now, we're seeing it at play in Argentina.
Mm.
It's happening in Argentina right now with the new president,
Really?
Milei. So it's
Also, I hear he's a libertarian,
well, I mean,
Politician.
you can use whatever label you want to use. The point is judge him by his actions.
I'm not quite.
Judge him by his action.
What I heard is he will do dollarization.
He's given up his financial independence because he's going to depend everything. The dollar is going to become the eye.
Yeah, because to tackle hyperinflation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
The dollar will attack hyperinflation.
No. What he's done is open
The dollar will.
domestic currency market to competitive order.
So
that will bring the inflation down.
now most of the Argentinians can't buy food. They're all in the
No,
streets.
they have dollars in the domestic market. It's the same thing. Like if we do today,
So
that dollars.
So who will ensure
Mm.
that when the value of the dollar goes down
Yes,
and prices go up,
yeah.
how will the Argentinian worker afford?
Well, one is they can have privately issued currencies. There should be no barrier to privately issued money. They can do that.
I think it's a disaster.
Number one.
It's a disaster.
No. It's
we
not.
will see this. Just see. No. Even, I don't want to get into an argument with you, but since he has taken over the presidency,
Yeah.
and he was elected.
Yes.
He was elected. How he got elected, I'm not going to go into that. Okay.
I haven't heard anything about it. I
But-
know
but-
how Brazilian Lula got elected.
But since his election,
Yeah.
Buenos Aires streets, people are out in the streets demonstrating against his policy. Why are they doing that?
Your South America has got a large public sector vested group, the unions, and so many people depending on they will resist. But leadership is not about that. You don't just buckle down.
I'm not going to
Okay, that's fine, but-
contributing on these issues.
Okay, but Qayyum,
I'm looking at facts on the ground.
मुझे बोला Argentina dollarization it'll become a success because Mugabe did it before him. It was a success to handle Zimbabwe's hyperinflation. So this will be too.
Have you met? I actually met a white family
Yeah.
from Zimbabwe in Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife,
Yeah.
this was Mugabe was ruling, and they had a black friend with them.
Yeah.
And we were going somewhere, so we started talking. So both the white woman and the black man, they both said the same thing. That it's a country that is at war with itself.
এটা তো আছেই. I'm just talking about handling the inflation, what they did.
There are many ways to handle inflation.
Tell me.
There are what inflation are you talking about? There is a threat of global inflation right now.
I'm talking about domestic inflation.
Global inflation will spill over to domestic inflation.
Okay, tell me what to do. Whatever is in your mind.
What is causing your inflation? There is not one, it's not like a pill of aspirin. Inflation is a headache, and I take an aspirin and my headache goes away. It doesn't work that way.
Tell it.
Inflation happens for many reasons. And you have to know what is causing the inflation.
To me,
And if you inflate, and if you know what is causing with the inflation, then you can deal with the causes. That's the real cure.
so what is the cause? What are the causes?
Okay, let's discuss
For
that.
example, Bolo.
What are the inflationary pressures facing Bangladesh at this time?
Among the prices are abnormally high of everything. Consumer.
That is, you just described.
And
you just described inflation.
No, but I'm saying I have described it, but I haven't told you the
Okay,
reason.
what is causing the prices to be high?
Excess money supply in the market. Simple. The government has
How
been
come,
printing money.
how come if there is so much money, that money is not in people's hands? People
No.
can't buy
ওটা তো
anything.
তুমি অন্যদিকে চলে যাচ্ছে।
No, you can't talk like that.
Acha.
These are interrelated.
Okay, let me say.
If money is in people's hands,
Yeah.
then this inflation is not a problem.
You know what? Money, let's say, for example, let's touch on the migration, the remittance just $15 billion. This is people's money. It's not in the people's hand because they get it transferred in takas. And what I heard, I asked one of those আমাদের think tanks, the টাকা যে করে এটা কি result multiplier effect কি হয় বলে চার গুণ বেশি হয়ে যায়. Now that means addition to the excess money supply in the market. That is one reason. And the second reason, the government's appetite for development and Chinese money or foreign money or its own money, they're printing at a high speed. And that is the reason. And inflation has got only one reason.
I think,
It's not about the
I
goods.
think. that
It's not about the
inflation-
goods.
The inflation that we are being on for Bangladesh, the principal cause for the inflation is profiteering.
I don't think so. Tell me, let's
I mean-
hear this.
I mean, just since COVID, just say your grocery bill. Your grocery bill.
Yeah,
If you ran your household with, let's say, X amount of takas,
yeah.
your grocery bill. So there is inflation, so it can be X plus 2. It can't be 3X, it can't be 2X. It is now 2X and 3X.
Mm.
So this, you talk to any business, I've spoken to many businesses. Everybody's prices have gone up.
Yeah,
সাবানের দাম যেটা ছিল 100 টাকা এখন 240 টাকা।
100%, because we have excess
So this
money.
is profiteering.
We have
No,
too much of money here.
This is because in a capitalist model, the object of the businesses is to extract as much
No,
profit.
Qayyum.
No, let me finish, please.
Bolo, please, Bolo.
If the object of the business is to extract as much profit as they can, and if they can charge 240 taka for a bar of soap,
Yes,
they will charge
yes.
that.
Yes,
Although it costs them 55 takas to produce the bar of soap.
I understand. Yes, but that's the best way to handle give a competitive price is by competition. Now you don't do that. You give license to people to make things for us. And they set the price, number
I
one.
think আমাদের licensing regime কিন্তু এখন অনেক
No, and other pricing is also they have to keep up with inflation because they have to import raw materials. So they got to hedge it.
You are going into aside. I'm
saying why the price is
I'm
high.
saying the principal cause of inflation in Bangladesh today is profiteering. And prove me wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to prove you wrong, but I heard it. It's hard for me to accept that explanation. Kaisar, you want to say
Well,
something?
a huge amount of the inflation historically also
Mhm.
has been hoarding and profiteering. But at the moment, we also cannot ignore
Mhm.
the international situation circumstance
Yeah,
and the impact it is having on the supply chain. For
Yeah.
instance, the Ukraine war
yeah.
is definitely having an impact. I mean,
And the prices are
we
shooting up. But that's not inflationary
jokingly
prices.
say or half seriously, it is truly a global world.
Yeah.
But to reverse a little to what Vipu was saying about this Bretton Woods institutions,
Yeah.
I'm largely in agreement with them. The other thing that rankles with me, annoys,
Yeah.
is that one of the few things, first things that they do when they engage with the country is to preach transparency and governance. And it is totally lacking in them.
They have
You
their
cannot
office.
take the World Bank to the court. I mean, they simply put up the plea of immunity. So these are the great disadvantages, and we should also not forget historically.
Yeah.
This was the phase when I was working for a Japanese syndication banking entity right in London, and I saw how the entire Latin American continent
Yeah.
and a good chunk of what was Eastern Europe
Yes.
was bled dry. These are not my words. President Reagan,
Mm-hmm.
on a number of occasions, publicly stated that next to the nuclear bomb,
Yeah.
the biggest bomb that is threatening civilization, even he, from his vantage point, for a whole host of different reasons, is the death bomb. And who created this? Who were guarantors of this? So in dealing with the World Bank,
Yeah.
we have got to be very, very careful. On the other hand, I enthusiastically embrace and Bangladesh is a member of the BRI.
Yeah.
Having said that, this is of course the work of diplomacy. We cannot be insensitive to other big powers in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
to how they assess their situation. But like for instance, if I may give a very direct example,
Yep.
in the recent Palestinian question, Israeli
Yeah.
situation, our policy, our articulated policy,
Mhm.
had been at tremendous variance from that of our neighbor, but this is how it should be. We are an independent sovereign country.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't cause any dissatisfaction, rupture. So how we manage
Mm.
to put across
Our issues,
also
yeah.
our problems. And one example would be like India, which when asked, their very suave foreign minister gave an excellent answer. That
Mhm.
we have to first
Look
our
at our,
interest is our own country, so we
Right.
have to buy oil from Russia.
Yeah.
I think that also, if I may slightly go back to
Mhm.
this bureaucratic political conflict going on. Bureaucracy is always at the ascendant when you have an unrepresentative government. And what better can exemplify that than the IUBs when we were growing up, the decade of martial law
General
of
Yubiya.
President Ayub Khan. With democracy, the expectation is the politicians would be able to decide, make their decision. Sometimes, unfortunately, what happens is that although the politicians have the feel and
Mhm.
they're closer to the people, there is, it has become even more technological. So we need the help of the bureaucracy. It is a question of how we balance
Yeah.
the matter must be made clear that the politicians take the decision because they get blamed for it. If something go wrong, then they are the ones who will have to face the risk. So when that is the case, it is how you deal, and if these things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Even in country, I mean, yes, Minster is not just a comment. It is a reflection.
True.
Because even going on in Britain, and a very independent minded and an extremely competent minister, and I'm not going into his politics, Tony Benn
Yeah.
once said, when asked, how do you look at this Westminster series? He said, without commenting on that, I will say that a certain file I was interested in took months to come to my desk
Yeah.
because of the bureaucracy of it.
Exactly.
So this sort of even in established, long-standing, experienced democracy, this thing.
So they
I
are.
think we will mature with time, but I think the thrust should be there to bring about a healthy symbiotic relationship between the
So you
different politics and
you
bureaucracy.
you saying that democracy is suffering because of the bureaucracy.
These are one of the hurdles that we have to cross. These are one of the problems, but this is not something peculiar to Bangladesh.
Now,
So
Jamal,
the whole world.
Yeah.
And over time, the answer to lack of democracy is more democracy. And over time,
Yeah.
it will be quite the politicians. They need not know all the detailed things. They need not be expert. They have to have clear thinking
At
on
a
policies
instinct
and,
factor of people's
that
people's
instinct should be developed undisturbed by other considerations.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that is what sort of hobbles us in taking decisions which come to the benefit of us. And the other thing is, we cannot forget the delivery system for the impact on markets.
Yeah.
Sometimes some goods are produced and it doesn't reach the place, another place. That also can have a impact.
True. But
But at
yeah.
the end, as the saying goes, you
Mm.
do not get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Sometimes.
You're the diplomat, so you know.
Why? How skillful?
Mm.
How skillful is your labor force?
Yeah.
Are we going to? We are grateful to them. We recognize the tremendous pillar of support. I mean, this is 100% value addition, the remittance that we get.
Yeah.
But if we enhance the skill, that would be my expectation
True.
from this new government, that we develop our labor, the skilled labor, so that they can go for high end.
Yeah.
And also, like we sometimes have to go to the we have to be wary about these institutions because they will squeeze us. They have their own vision, they have their own policies, which are only, and they are not, as I say, they move. For instance, look at the tremendous problem hurdle they have created for the Panda Bridge. They thought that Bangladesh will cover, thanks to the determination of the government, determination of the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina herself, that we will overcome this.
They
by our
tried
own
to
resources.
bully you too.
Yes, and my very late, lamented, revered friend, Sayyid Abul, who has done so much for the country.
Abul Hussain,
Sacco.
He will be minister.
you mean to say what? I mean,
He's passed away.
last year?
Just
When?
passed away.
I don't know.
Just a few days back.
My God.
So that was very, very sad. But I'm just sort of giving an example where the government stood up. Had we not stood up, what would have happened?
Yeah.
So
that's-
the World
that's-
Bank, this is not the first time.
No.
This is what they have always been doing.
Yes.
In any case, the ideal world, perhaps we don't have to deal with them. We have to deal with them, but with a degree and with a confidence and democratic progression.
Yeah.
Adds to the level of our confidence. Democratic progression also makes it very clear and transparent. Because there was a democratically elected prime minister, that she could stand up to the World Bank and say, no, you don't give us food. On our terms, we shall go and break the bridge. So I'm just citing that as an example. China is, of course, a very different method, different civilization, different ethos of doing.
Yeah.
But they have gone big in Africa because they also have their interests. On the other hand, they understand that no nation are a bunch of idiots. If they don't do things which are very obviously good to that country as well, then in the long term, they're not going to get any benefit. But an ideal example would have been that decades ago, maybe 40, 50 years ago, the Chinese built the Tanzam railway running from Tanzania and Zambia.
Achha.
The day this railway was finished, they left the country. Left it to the Tanzanians and Zambians. People were absolutely over the moon.
They have
got there.
Yeah.
So there is a Chinese way of doing things, which is
Yeah.
very different. And these two Bretton Woods institutions had been created to be an adjunct of the United States of America, and there is often a tendency even to appropriate the United Nations. In any case, we have seen that slowly and gradually, the only argument in favor of UN
Yeah.
is that there is no other place where you can articulate a view. More than that, I think their reach does not go any further. We have
Right.
seen that in the recent in the Palestinian crisis.
Mhm.
So what I would say that for a country like Bangladesh, we keep making our point, and this should be made strongly through examples, through hard work, through a very focused development paradigm.
Yeah.
That we have no business about other countries. Instance, ours is we need to develop economically,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that is what we will pursue. And to that end, whatever is ideally required both for our country and interaction, we will continue to do. I mean, Bangladesh and Singapore are not similar. I'm not giving that example. But to a very large extent, of course, now Singapore has varied a little. They are taking a slightly anti-Chinese posture from time to time.
Achha.
Even then, they maintain an excellent trading commercial
In
relationship.
China.
We have resources. Countries like Japan,
They don't have
like
resources.
Singapore,
Yeah.
even many countries in the West. What resources do they have? They import resources. It is management. How ideally, how we can, for instance, what does it even have to import water from Malaysia?
Yeah.
So this management skills at every level, be it governance, be it bureaucracy. I mean, we talk about bureaucracy and there will always have to be some degree of reliance on the bill. What is the caliber of that bill?
Yeah.
What is their capability to deliver to their political seniors? I'm not using the word political masters,
Yeah.
so that there can be a win-win situation. These are, I think, also
Yeah.
embedded in the challenges that the government will have to face. And one would expect that farming up, seeing much less rent seeking, much less corruption. We have in the past, And the other thing is that how do we control for our imports or exports the dollar?
Yeah.
We really have to have a very fresh look at it.
Bolo?
কি বলবো?
Bolo, what?
I mean, first of all, I think what guys have just said, I mean, I don't disagree with it, any of your views.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is maybe I'll talk by example.
Bolo.
I recently was reading a paper that was comparing the development path of our country, Bangladesh,
Yeah.
with Korea, South Korea. And that, because at the end of the Second World War, both our societies were at the same level of poverty. And although our sort of economic progress started off when we started low-level manufacturing, i.e. garments. The same is true for Korea.
Yeah.
Korea also, when it started, industrialization of Korea began with garment products, textiles.
Mhm.
But in 2 decades, Korea was diversifying its manufacturing. They were into manufacturing of electronics, heavy machinery,
Motor car.
shipbuilding, steel, etc., etc. Bangladesh has now spent 4 decades almost stagnant in low level.
Stuck with that.
Although we are now beginning to see some diversification.
Mhm.
Now, this diversification has not occurred. Why hasn't it occurred?
Mhm.
The principal weakness why it hasn't occurred
Yeah.
is not that our entrepreneurs are not sufficiently perceptive,
Mhm.
but the infrastructure does not exist. There is insufficient power. There is insufficient ancillary services.
So maybe Qayyum infrastructure, the logistics, it doesn't have entrepreneurship. And this is what bureaucrats want to hang on.
Well, I think infrastructure is a public good, so I don't agree with, infrastructure is a public
তুমি
good.
শুনো তোমার রাস্তা ব্রিজও প্রাইভেট কি বলে
I
পাবলিক
mean,
বাট
the entire Chinese infrastructure is in the public sector.
না বাট the private
Because the entire Chinese, I'm not going to go into that argument,
no, I said
but
you
that's where we
need-
disagree.
না I just said তোমার তো রাস্তা বানাচ্ছে প্রাইভেট এন্টারপ্রেনিউর বানাচ্ছে ইটস এ পাবলিক গুড আই এম সেইং আমাদের এই সেক্টরে ওই যে প্রাইভেট এন্টারপ্রেনিউরশিপ নাই খুব নাই বিকজ দ্য
Private
bureaucrats are
entrepreneurship
holding on to it.
A private company just cannot go and build a road.
No, I'm saying তুমি গভর্নমেন্টই এটা লোকাল গভর্নমেন্ট হোক সেন্ট্রাল গভর্নমেন্ট হোক দিলা
The point is, how we build roads needs to be examined. Why the roads aren't there needs to. Why the power isn't there needs to be
Yeah.
examined.
I'm
Why
saying-
the IT infrastructure is not there needs to be
Yeah.
examined.
yeah
Why the
Why?
transshipment facility.
why the missing link key our entrepreneurs are being shy about they're kept away from that sector
Who makes economic policy in this country?
the government
All right, so these things are not in our
একটা
policy.
ভেস্টেড ইন্টারেস্ট আছে না ওই যে আমাদের পাবলিক চয়েস থিওরি আছে না bureaucrats they have a vested interest and they keep on looking at it
তো আমাদের তো in the beginning আমরা যখন আলোচনা শুরু করলাম আমরা তো বললাম যে আমাদের এখানে নীতি নির্ধারক হলো
bureaucrats
আমরা তো বললাম আমরা তো সেটা দিয়ে কথা শুরু করলাম
yes
এবং আমি কোরিয়ার উদাহরণ এই জন্য দিলাম কোরিয়াও কিন্তু মানে
maybe the democracy works better
until recently Korea has also been struggling with their government, the system of public administration, democracy, etc.
Yeah.
Authoritarian.
but they made a transition
But,
the army নাই
but Korea, there's, because they got out of low-level manufacturing into other things. Shipbuilding was, for example, a huge success.
yeah
Huh?
but I think the government was able to do the
তো
job
আমাদের এখানে কিন্তু এসব কিছু হচ্ছে না আমাদের এখানে যেটা আমি you will again jump on me. So, but cronyism is very high.
I wouldn't jump on you. But ওই আরেকটা জিনিস তোমার কাইসার তুমি যেটা বললে আইয়ুব খান that আনলা আইয়ুব খানের আমলে কিন্তু আমাদের ডেভেলপমেন্ট ছিল। Let me finish. It was developing, and because it was developing, we said we are not getting our shares. এক minute. But তখন বঙ্গবন্ধু he entered the politics, the crisis. So he did not touch this development issue that the country was. A lot of people they were saying there is development, but why people caught on to him? Because we missed that. যে আমাদের যে আমার তোমার যে freedom, আমার তোমার যে say, which are missing. So like we can have bridges and this and that, but if there's no say in for me, it doesn't interest me. Like today's government, they have had so many bridges and development. We can see it in macro numbers. But people not very enchanted with it. I mean, if you got a bridge contract, you would be super rich. But man on the street, they're not, impressed. Even for China, totalitarianism, Chinese people are not unhappy with the Chinese CCCP. They may be the biggest economy in the world today, but people are highly unhappy because they lack the freedom and the rights. Bolo.
First comment is about Ayub Khan.
Yeah.
No, I disagree with you completely on Ayub Khan. What happened in Ayub Khan is absolute institutional discrimination and transfer of wealth. Institutional discrimination against the Bengalis, Eastern Province, and transfer of wealth.
That's what I
You
said.
can, and the investments which took place at Bangla Dam, Warsaw Dam, Islamabad.
That's what I said. That we have been
So
discriminated.
we are not part of that development.
No, we were discriminated. We're not getting the right share, but there was an upswing in the economy.
No, but
which we were
you see the
deprived
real
of.
It was
development.
a poor and a very backward colonial sort of development.
No, no,
I agree.
Say of the development.
I think the most important indicator would be
Mhm.
that how did the standard of living for ordinary Pakistanis, working not the feudal families of Punjab,
Acha.
or the working Pakistanis, their lifestyle hadn't changed. They were stuck in poverty. So that's not development.
Now,
That's not
I
development.
was trying to relate a development with democracy.
So I'm defining in this example, I'm defining what I consider development.
Okay.
Okay? If the standard of living of the ordinary citizen doesn't improve, that's not development.
Mm.
Whatever you do, it's not development, number one. And your second point
Mm.
that you made about China,
Yeah.
the Pew Institute reports on it.
Yeah.
They did a survey they asked citizens of every country, United States, the UK,
Mhm.
and Chinese,
Yeah.
that do you live in a democracy?
Yeah.
The number of people that responded
Mhm.
from I can't recollect the numbers.
Yeah.
In the US, people thought they were living in a democracy and their aspirations they reflected was around 30%, I think. Don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
And for the Chinese, it was
60.
oh no, it was about 70%. And then there were footnotes to it. And the footnotes is we have one party.
Yeah.
But the party frequently changes policy as a response to what feedback they're getting from the people.
Mm.
And the explanation of footnote for America was you have two parties, but the policy that
Yes.
can never be changed. So now you make your own call. I just give these facts in front of you.
But certain policies are deep state.
Yeah.
When suddenly people start talking that what happens if this administration comes and they seem to have this pipe dream that things will change. I instinctively don't agree with that. I think the fundamental policies
The
of
deep
this
state.
country, particularly in America, is very predictable. It is the
Deep
bureaucratic military complex. It is their interest which is going to guide them. And I don't think a politician in America is born yet or will succeed to sit in the Oval Office which can override these results. And if he even tries to do it, he will be taken care of. I mean, no Jeremy Corbyn
Like,
will get elected in England.
Mm.
Tony Benn will not get elected. Similarly, very far right people like Powell, no matter how brilliant, also did not get.
Mhm.
So I think that these are very well
May I,
grounded.
may I interject one thing?
Yes.
No, he was talking about Jeremy Powell.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn
Yeah.
is the person I like. But even a guy like Sunak can
Yeah.
become PM without being elected
Yeah.
at all. That was the point. It was
Deep state.
So
That's the deep state. Yeah.
yes, and by and large, in my visits to China,
Yeah.
I was even encouraged to ask questions. And they're always not being cagey because someone is looking at them from the outside. Let me be young people sit talking. Yes, what we need in the book, in that sense, we may not develop it. We have development, we have, more importantly, avenues to ventilate our feelings, which travel to the people who take
True.
decisions.
You went during better times, not during COVID or after COVID.
I didn't go.
Yeah. So that was different. You suddenly change everything in China. Totalitarianism.
You see, China is, I mean, to understand China, you must understand the magnitude of China. China is 1.4 billion people, a huge population.
Yeah.
And like any group, there are many, many views on every issue.
What's wrong with that?
And those views have to somehow
Mm.
be synthesized into
Yes.
policy. It is no government in the world has dealt with it except India. India also has 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
Okay? India, and if you look at the comparative socio-economic indicators from India and China, the differences are very clear.
Mm.
Okay? And what you don't see in China, which you see frequently in India,
Yeah.
is rioting. India, every day, I mean, since the Modi government, I mean, police comes with bulldozers to raise Muslim homes.
Yeah.
Muslim men, Dalits are being beaten up in the streets with the police watches.
Mhm.
Things like this don't happen in China.
And we don't know what happens in China.
Well, I think
It's the iron
you may
curtain.
not know because you're not interested. But if you really cared, I mean, you can know a great deal.
I'm not interested in India that way, but I
You know,
agree. Bulldozing, whatever they're doing. But China to bulldozing kore. But the news is
I think one thing that I'd advise you that when you are looking at China, don't read the Guardian, don't read the New York Times.
I would never read Guardian and New York
don't
Times.
read the Guardian, don't read the New York Times, don't read the Economist,
No, I don't.
don't read the Time magazine, don't read the Washington Post.
Mainstream media, fake media.
So, I mean, today it's quite easy to sort of get
But this would
independent
be
people.
interesting to hear your views.
Mm.
I'm very fascinated, like all of us are, with many things, China.
Yeah.
Bigger problem.
Yeah. There you are.
But that is something. that
Muslim
is-
bashing.
is a very complicated problem from whichever angle you are looking at. You have to have some assessment appreciation of the Chinese viewpoint on it also,
Yeah.
because there is a security dimension to it. It's a very energy-rich country, and not that the Chinese did not try other methods. So,
Mm.
what is your take on that? Because there was a time when they were using the imams of mosques
Mm.
to go and talk these people
Yeah.
into some sort of organization, and I have 100% sympathies for them, for the people who are suffering. But then
Yeah.
it pains me because China, which has on many occasions in an enlightened fashion
Yeah.
dealt with problems which other countries have been very harsh. How do you think
Mm.
evolving?
It's a big issue.
Um, First of all, let me say a couple of things. There was, with the problems in Afghanistan,
Yeah.
there were problems of Islamic State type militant group funded by the National Endowment for Democracy.
To America bolo.
Huh? Huh?
Funded by America bolo.
Funded by America in the Xinjiang province.
Yeah.
And there were incidents of Chinese policemen being stabbed, this, that, bomb blast.
To trigger something.
Bomb blast, etc., etc. Now, if you look at geographically,
Mm.
in China's plan for the new Eurasian economy,
Yeah.
Xinjiang is a very important region of China. Right?
It's bordering Turkey, is it?
Huh?
It's bordering Turkey.
It's the westernmost province of China.
Big one.
And this is where the big railway hubs are.
Acha.
This is where the big railway
Connecting,
hub. Huh?
Mm.
And so it's a very important. So I think, first of all, we have to understand that a troublesome Xinjiang is not in China's interest.
Mm.
So, second, the hyperbole that the Western media has used against the Chinese
Yeah.
regarding the Uyghurs is there's a genocide going on.
Yeah.
If there's a genocide going on, the population shall decline. The population growth in Xinjiang is the highest in China.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Well,
Cannot be refused.
they didn't follow the one child policy.
No, there is no one child policy anymore.
It's bad.
There's two child
No,
policy.
no. I thought there is no child policy.
Two child policy.
No. I thought it's free. You can have as many as
And
you
they have
want.
really messed
I thought,
up
but
their,
over by having the one child.
the demographically they messed it up.
By having the one child policy for so long, I think Chinese families have learned that a few children, if you have a few children, standard of living, it's easy to live the standard
I
of
don't
living
think
of your
so.
family.
It's a very natural way of learning those things, not by artificial means.
That is the difference.
It's-
That happened in Mao Zedong's time. Okay, we're no longer
They're the same.
No. But the point is, I'm refuting you.
Uh.
I'm refuting you that there is no restriction on how many children a Chinese
সেটা অন্য
family
ব্যাপার।
can
I'm
have.
saying,
No longer.
No longer.
I'm
And
saying,
that's the fact.
I'm saying, ঠিক আছে, I agree.
Don't malign them with what happened in the past. We're talking about the
No,
present.
I agree. But for anyone to
Okay,
come
even
and-
if you're true, now what happens then? How does it affect today? We're talking about
what
today.
my point is,
Are you talking about the Uyghur problem or not?
no, I'm talking about today's China's totalitarianism has come back.
No.
After the COVID thing,
No,
they have come back.
absolutely not. I
And people
disagree.
there, what I gather,
No,
they're very unhappy.
I disagree with you. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make the point.
Economically, they are booming, but that's not good enough for the people.
I can't, if you don't want to hear me, I can't.
Acha, bolo.
I can't say it. Okay?
I will hear you. That's
If
why you're
you
here.
interrupt me and cut me
Okay,
off.
sorry.
You should not let
My
me say
apologies.
that. Other than
So my apologies, Bolo.
no, I completely disagree with you. And if economic prosperity cannot take place,
Mm-hmm.
what China has not done is they have not financialized their economy like the West has.
I mean, debt-based economy.
No, they haven't sold off state assets to financiers. They haven't sold off their railroad to investment banks. They haven't they haven't allowed Jack Ma to become the biggest.
He disappeared, did he?
No, he's back in the state. He was not allowed to make certain acquisitions because that would make him a monopolist. They have not allowed financialization of their economy. At the same time, unlike the United States, which has had financial problems because of problems in the real estate sector, China did not bail out Evergrande with public funds. China helped investors to say that you made the investment, don't expect the government to bail you out. These are good economic policies.
I don't know. I mean,
These are good economic
But
policies.
the real estate sector appears to be a major area of concern in China.
China.
Yes,
And
Yes.
it will be again seen, they have wonderfully dealt with one crisis after another. And I say it from not an academic understanding,
Hmm.
but from direct interaction with them. And it was raised in all frankness, the situation in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
How come you with all these enlightened policies in contrast to that pursued by the West
Yeah.
have had this situation? There is a lot of provocation, and the guy who is doing it is also sitting in America.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Watch out, this billionaire. This is a
the
billionaire.
leader of the name
Yeah.
escapes me.
Yeah.
But the real estate sector
Yeah.
is one very disturbing.
I mean, they've had, they built cities. Built cities
Yeah.
which are not occupied.
I thought you wouldn't say that.
They built
Ghost cities.
Huh?
Mongolia
No,
maybe
no,
so.
no.
Mongolia
But-
also
but
like
at the
that.
same time, they've had the experience as they progress with industrialization. Where did the labor come from? They came from the villages. If you bring, like in Dhaka, the garment industry took root in Dhaka.
Right.
And with the explosion of the garment industry, we had the explosion of busties.
Right.
Okay, China didn't want to deal with that. They wanted to create the housing before industrialization. And and real estate investors speculated and they overbuilt. Huh?
Or they had the money to
No,
to do the spending to restore some kind of monetary.
And I think the Chinese banks also made a mistake when they got proposal for building cities. That they didn't look at everything. They made credit available to the developer. So now,
Mm.
this biggest Chinese real estate company, Evergrande.
They were having some problem. Or was that
Ah.
the bank?
So they were having some problems. They issued bonds. They went to the government seeking help. And the government was very capitalist.
Mm.
Very, very capitalist. Very, very market. He said, no, you make that decision. If your decision turned out to be wrong, you face the music. The government had nothing to do with it.
True.
And the government did not bail them out. But
Mm.
I think where these real estate companies made an error
Yeah.
is we build this city is going to be occupied in 5 years, let's say. Now there are empty cities where there is no industry, but there are industrial parks that are coming up around. When those industrial parks are occupied, the cities will be occupied too.
Theoretically.
Well, I mean,
You don't know when you are-
I mean, I think I sense a little bit of taunt there, but all right, if you want to put it that way. But China has shown a lot of experience of doing that, where they build cities and industrial parks side by side. In certain cases,
You said Loknai. You said Loknai ওখানে. Build cities, buildings
আরে-
Loknai.
আরে ওখানে তাকে শিল্প হবে, কাঠ হবে,
হবে,
কাঠ করবো।
হবে।
তো এরকম
হবে,
ওরা
নাই তো।
করেছে, এরকম
নাই
ওরা
তো।
করেছে।
You know, my
এমন তো না যে ওদের এরকম কোনো রেকর্ড নাই, কোনোদিন করতে পারে নাই। না, ওরা এমনি করেছে।
একটা জিনিস যে they do not take a sudden or whimsical decision about nothing. They're looking at countries with 100 years interest.
yes, they have a 100-year plan. I don't know. They want to.
Even in their bilateral relations.
Kaisa, they want to rule the world. With the new world order, যে বলে Bill Gates, they have their own new world order.
China may wish to rule the world. America is ruling the world. And how do you
America
feel
is
about that
gone.
rule?
America is going.
How do you feel that rule has been?
I don't. I'm no fan of America.
আরো 50 বছর লাগে।
I'm a fan of Trump, but not a fan of America. I see it differently. America is a racket, big racket, and China is 2-1. It's totalitarian. That's my view of it.
I think I like my আমাদের সঞ্চালকের আমার খুব পছন্দ হয় বহু মানে দিয়ে he sort of tickles me by showing this particular
না
phrase
তুমি
or
তো চাইনিজ
particular
ফ্যান,
word.
ইজ এ চাইনিজ ফ্যান। আচ্ছা বলো, you done 1
তবে
hour
একটা
তোমার
জিনিস আমি
জুম্মা
বলবো
প্রেয়ার
যে
আছে?
আমাদেরও বাইরের থেকে মনে হয় যে সিসিটিভি তে বোধহয় আলোচনা হয়। They have furious heated debates.
And they also disappear, the political members.
But America also looks after
America,
presidents who disagree.
may I just say, it's a harami country. It's been exposed, and so is the Western
No,
civilization.
I think
Sorry, it's about
but
that.
I remember I think the whole world, the whole developing world is looking at China to
Yes.
get them out of this.
I don't think so. They are. The whole world is looking. They are a stupid world. But China did not look at.
I don't know. You can call everybody. You can call whatever you think, but AJ, this whole world is signing on to this BRI benefiting. They are.
That's for money. That's for money. Look, who did China go to build their China? The China we see at 30 years' time. How did they boom? Whose money? Nobody's money. So when we take money, we don't realize. Inshallah, amrai to pari. Without money, we can boom. Okay, you bring in the changes in your system.
You see, I personally, find it very difficult when we get political and rhetorical politically.
তবে আমাদের
Factually কথা বলছি।
আমাদের কনটেক্সটের থেকে যদি আমরা দেখি, as of now,
Yeah.
we have a very good situation where the Chinese won't even expect anything material. Of course, they will, I mean, in the long run. But they are quite happy with the stance that the Prime Minister has taken.
এটা তো অন্য জিনিস। I'm not saying.
সেই জন্য তারা কিন্তু একটা জিনিস রেকগনাইজ করে। It is then again left to our diplomats to compare. I am sure they are doing
Yeah.
a good job of it. That look, we cannot be blind to the neighboring reality. এই জন্য চায়নার যে প্রজেক্টটি যাবে সেটা আমরা বুঝতে পারবো। কিন্তু they will deliver, they will accept that. For instance, deep sea port তারা চেয়েছে।
Yeah.
They didn't get it. They did not walk away from it.
No.
They are remaining here engaged, are deeply entrenched on it. Because they take a general overview, and politics comes in, the Prime Minister's trust
Yeah.
and attitude, this also makes them feel comfortable. The whole thing is that this again is a very larger issue, probably will need the whole 1 hour discussion, is the Bay of Bengal situation. How we tackle it. That would put the test to its ultimate limits.
Okay.
There will be one hell of a lot of, not just economic interests,
Geopolitical.
interests of the West. What's all this squad all about anyway?
Yeah.
So how do you tackle that? What's all this squad all about?
But, I think we have China is a civilizational state.
CCCP.
China is a civilizational state. America is a Westphalian nation state. America views the world, the West views the Westphalian nation states view future in a certain way. Civilizational states have a record of what they have done and how they view the future. Okay? If you look at Chinese history,
Yeah.
did China get out of its periphery to colonize anybody?
Now they did.
Have they? Who are the colonized?
Mongolia, they virtually control it. Tibet, they have. Nepal ঢুকছে, Maldives
Nepal they
ঢুকছে,
have not colonized.
Bangladesh ঢুকছে।
Bangladesh
Ultimately, they will do that.
Nepal
That
rejected them.
is
And
what I don't know.
Vietnam, they got bashed up.
I think Vietnam they have not colonized.
They got bashed
No,
up.
no. They had a border dispute. They didn't act.
They went
didn't-
inside.
No. They had a border dispute with India. They didn't want to conquer India. They didn't want to conquer Vietnam. The relationship between China and Mongolia is unique. It goes back to the time of Genghis Khan. So I think it's that's why the perception of a civilizational state, China is not does not have the record of the Europeans that I go, I depopulate, and I make settler colonies. That is what North America is. That is what South America is. That is what the Europeans did in Africa. That is what the Europeans did in Asia. There is no such Chinese record.
তো চেঙ্গিস খান যায়নি মিডল ইস্টে?
Genghis Khan is a Mongol.
ওকে, ওই তুমি বললে
Genghis Khan is a
Mongol
but Chinese history. Genghis Khan first colonized China.
Chinese was in the word of the
maybe-
Exactly. So I think
তোমার
No, no,
ইউরোপ, তুমি
huh?
ইউরোপের কথা বললা, they made a discover a sea route.
you see,
they started going
I'm
there.
telling you something very fundamental.
Mm.
The Westphalian nation states
Yeah,
are colonial in nature, and the record says so.
yeah,
Civilizational states,
Yes.
civilizational
I agree.
states such as China and India are not colonial in nature.
civilization তো আমাদের dissipate করছে, ইজিপ্টের civilization gone, তোমার সিরিয়ান
How is that?
civilization
How-
gone.
but তুমি
না,
যেটা
না, তো আমরা তো সবাই
তুমি
civilization.
যেটা বলতেছো, সেটা তো doesn't refute my argument.
না, না, তো আমরা
Then we're
তো
getting
সবাই
into-
civilization.
then we're getting into just, just sniping argument. That's no good.
না,
Chinese
তুমি যে
empire.
তুমি বললা যে ইন্ডিয়ান, হ্যাঁ, the ancient civilization still existing, none of it does, and Chinese they have changed, CCCP করে চেঞ্জ হয়ে গেছে। তো ওই নেশন স্টেট যে ওয়েস্টফেলিয়া বললা, ওটা তো সবাই রুটস ইজ দ্য সেম।
No,
have a Bengali
no,
speaking
that is a
country,
very,
you have-
no, I completely disagree and vehemently disagree with that. You cannot say that.
তাহলে আমরা নেশন হলাম কেন?
আমাদের nation হলো তো আমাদের এই যে political boundaries have been set by our colonial masters.
না, না, সেটা
We
তো
had no role in it.
সেটা তো 47 কথা বললা, যে আমরা যে বাংলাদেশ ইজ এ নেশন স্টেট, পাকিস্তান ইজ এ নেশন স্টেট, কেন হলো? ফান্ডামেন্টাল
Is
রিজন,
Pakistan a nation state? I don't think so.
they have created it,
But
made
Pakistan
it,
is not a nation state.
made it a nation state because of Muslims majority, they made it like that on
Look,
that basis.
are Muslims a nation? When did the Muslims become a nation?
Again, all
I don't know.
circumstances are different. We have lived for thousands of years.
Yeah,
It was probably found that at certain point it was getting very difficult with a little bit of help from the British. So Pakistan's creation is a very complicated issue in itself. But on the Chinese thing, as we remember, Admiral Ho, he came up to Chittagong, never with the
Jung
idea
He,
of
huh? Jung He, Admiral Jung He. He's a Muslim.
Muslim. And it was remarkable that
which one was that?
Tang Dance.
Ah,
And the Chinese dismantled their fleet, saying the emperor said, the world has nothing to offer us.
Exactly. They didn't, because they didn't think that they should take on these plans. Even now, many of the navigational material left by him are used. He was a brilliant
no,
man.
Chinese too at one time, they are
And
more civilized than the West.
West, the port to the west, that was Chittagong. Money to Chittagong, the port to the
I
west.
know their history. They are very, they're richer than the Western civilization. They were that iron.
Paper, gunpowder.
কত কিছু ছিল।
May I, with your permission, sir?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir.
We got distracted with the sites. What I'm trying to say is, the Chinese are not interested in establishing colonies like imperialists.
Yeah.
The Chinese are building you infrastructure, they'll lend you money, they'll recover their loan, and they will do business with it. That's what they want.
আমি উত্তর দেবো, বলবো। Chinese তুমি যেটা বললা, it's all very nice and fairy tale, but in reality it's different. Look at Sri Lankan port they made, what has happened. Look at Pakistan, what is happening to them. They have the Chinese guru there. Look at Africa, what is happening. They are very unpopular in Africa with the African
Mama.
people.
I will say, this is one, CPC, I know some of it about, but I know Sri Lanka pretty well. If you look at Sri Lanka's external debt, what percentage of external debt is Chinese?
I have no idea.
What? Huh? 3%. where is most of Sri Lanka's debt service money
World
going
Bank.
to? World Bank and New York banks.
না তুমি যে colonization বললা যে একটা হচ্ছে
Don't
physical
change the subject. Let's stick with
physical
it.
না এটাই বলছি
No.
Chinese হচ্ছে there are different way of colonization with money
You see,
and
you
তোমার যখন
very
BRI
specific, no, no, you
তুমি যে
are very
BRI
specific.
বললা
No,
এসবে কোনো ওয়ার্ল্ড ব্যাংকে টেন্ডার করে আমি
Chinese, Sri Lanka's problem that they had was regarding servicing their debt. And the Chinese debt is not causing debt service problem. The debt owed to Western banks and Western financial institutions is the debt burden.
I'm not saying this is clean. This has got its own problems, nature of problems. So has Chinese.
So first of all, no. Again, you're conflating, whenever our discussion reaches, you conflate issues. I don't like conflating it.
আরেকটা
Let's
issue ছিল
resolve these.
You give an example of the Western financial way, how we do it.
আরেকটা ইস্যু ছিল শ্রীলঙ্কায়
Yeah.
should not lose sight of the on the diktat of the IMF,
Yeah.
they had to remove subsidy on it.
Yeah, I mean, from these pesticides and all that, because to control nitrogen. CO2.
That was not caused with the Chinese, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But I'm saying, I don't see
No,
difference.
you have certain preconceived notions about the Chinese.
Chinese, yeah, I
What the Western press prints, and you like that. Fine. But those are not facts.
Qayyum, I don't read Guardian or NYT. I have my own way of looking at it. And তুমি যে বলো China বলো West বলো আমাদের government as the structure বলো, if you come to the bottom line, people also feel the same thing about your own government. How you have been deprived and been exploited, and you don't give us the freedom. So these are all globally related issues. We are facing it in our existence. China is no angel. Neither is Washington.
I think about talking
Yeah,
most an
yeah,
hour.
yeah.
I mean, should I talk about? I think I want to.
বলো।
The purpose of any government is to see that prosperity spreads and prosperity grows. Okay? Prosperity must grow and prosperity must spread. And if that doesn't happen, the government is
As
not.
evenly as possible.
Huh?
There
As
should not
evenly
be
as-
bounds of growth, there should be.
Can I just say something? I agree. That's fine. But এখানে the means are more important than the end. And for you, it's the end, it seems. You don't give a shit to what happens so long you have this end result is fine. For me,
You see,
it's not.
For me, it's all in my lifetime. Okay? After my lifetime, I don't matter.
No,
And my views don't matter.
no, my
It's all in my
lifetime, while that
lifetime.
we want to be happy and exercise our natural rights, okay? And when if you have to surrender and give it suppressed,
You
and
see, you're
sabotage,
now in the realm of philosophy. I mean, since we covered the lot of ground, why not philosophy?
বলো,
Uh,
he's got to go for his prayers.
Natural rights. Natural rights as defined by Gautam Buddha or by, the Western philosophy.
As I understand, not Western philosophy.
So,
nothing-
so even that is.
So you know Western philosophy, how I describe my natural rights without impeding yours. Period. Now, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Major Saab and Kaisar,
Good
thank you
morning,
very
sir.
much. It's very nice.
No, it is always a pleasure.
Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Actually, it was a fruitful discussion.
Let's have the next one on a Saturday morning or something.
We'll
Then
do
we
it.
can- we can
We'll
have
do
a
it. And
discussion.
Amra, hopefully, we're going to get Dhaka Tribune involved.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because I met Zafar and he's excited.
Okay, এখন এই building এ
না
থাকে?
ও ভাড়া এখন আসে ওদের ভাড়া আছে তো I told him once that শুনো তোমার বাবা তো was a legend but unfortunately in my view him and Bangabandhu's policy could not be a successful one but তোমার আর আমাদের এখন we have a chance to make it
Zafar is a pretty smart guy.
he is I said we can
More down to earth, not ideological.
no he's not Because I wrote against his dad, and when he was an op-ed in editor in Daily Star, he printed it. I was saying, "Tum chhava bolo." Ha, chhava bolo. So he's very, I like him. And he's saying, "Yeah, I have seen your podcast," and he wants to start his own. So later, I said, "Bhai, jo tum
He's
karo."
more pragmatic like his uncle, less ideological like his father.
His uncle.
Farooq Samad.
Actually, you know, Brahman Samad ideology doesn't bother me. His verbosity does.
All right, we end it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for that.
Making our economy right, or MOER, is all about a natural individual economic sovereignty, which we have surrendered to our governments. This has been a fact worldwide for decades together. MOER understands that a combination of individual freedom, monetary freedom, the free markets, and property rights can propel economic prosperity in every household in all nations. But how do we bring these to reality or correct the condition that we are in? I think it is by discussing on various platforms with the people that we become aware of the economic truths in knowing what serves us best. Is it the government or us, the people? We want you, not some ivory tower bureaucrat or a Nobel laureate, to fix your economy by proclaiming your naturally endowed economic rights. Thank you. And MOER will continue to talk with people as we do now. Thank you.